So as we arrive here, this umbrella theme for the 6 weeks is learning to heal. And perhaps I'd entered this notion last week that maybe the better title is Remembering to Heal, that we have been ensconced over these weeks, especially when here, but even in the intermediate periods, been ensconced with healing of some sort, or the lack thereof, the ebb and flow, the nature of healing. And through the 4 foundations of mindfulness, getting purchase on what healing might be. So just to reiterate, mindfulness of breath, just arriving to notice the breath as a tool to ground and orient and settle, as a lot of meditative practices utilize. But as we're exploring it, that there's a capacity of that breath to energize with its oxygen molecules that come in and to detoxify with that exhaled breath of the used up carbon dioxide. And that simple physiologic awareness may add a little bit to mindfulness of breath becoming a tool for healing, that we can use the breath. Take a fresh breath, slightly deeper breath, slightly fuller breath, and exhale a little more deeply, and begin to notice the finer layers of what that breath actually does for this body. And if we orient towards the body receiving the breath, there's the diaphragm, the main muscle of breathing that sits between the chest and the abdomen, and it's moving up and down regularly. Even if we forget, it will continue with the central pattern generator to move it. But what does it mean? We explored this in week 1, 2. What does it mean to allow the body to really receive this breath, this next breath? So that can unfold with a posture check, a reorientation of the way we carry our body. If we're lying down or sitting down or standing or walking, these 4 fundamental positions that the Buddha recommended for meditation practice. This sitting posture that we're inhabiting now, how can we orient it so that these breaths that come in, the tidal breaths, maybe the metaphor of the water coming up on shore of the body, the breath of the water coming up on the shore of the body, and dissipating away as the tide goes, and returning and leaving, returning and leaving. That we somehow orient the coastline to something that might be dramatic at first, but is fairly simple, oriented towards simplicity, oriented towards uprightness, a sense of effortlessness. These orientations or intentions for the breath and then the body help us tune towards what this body in fact needs for healing. And if you buy that premise, if that's something that's a little too much that you don't want to accept just yet, you just see for yourself, watch the breath come in, notice how the body responds, and tune for this opening meditation. We'll get into movement practice as well as a more dynamic way to invite healing back in by actually moving the parts that we might feel require it. And all the while that we might treat the direct healing of body through this breathing and reorientation of the body, gentle moving of the body, we can't help but notice that the inner life also has a few other dimensions to it, that there might be this emotional access to it. We explored this last week with imagining ourselves as just simple observers on a platform in the midst of our emotional landscape, not harmed by it, not involved in it, just simply a third-party observer as best we could. And that mindfulness of emotion, that technique, may allow some space and recognition. We had these beautiful stitched together vistas of dry creek beds starting to become flowing with water, with tears. We had this beautiful waterfall, very tumultuous, into a deep, still body of water to receive it. We had these big, landless vistas of big waves with undercurrents. And finally we had this sense of a valley, Yosemite Valley, with its water features and stone and the sun, bringing the energetic kind of renewal, perhaps, into that fourth vista. And the stitching together of these four, in some ways, was an organic, emergent property that we collectively held an emotional landscape together, that we could share a little bit of it, that we could offload a little bit of it, that maybe we could enjoy our own, just even a little bit more, knowing that we had some commonality, that we had some perspective, rather than being drowned in the water or desiccated by the lack of it. So mindfulness of emotion, we can, as I'm talking to you about it, you can drop into that sense of what that picture looks like now. Is it the same? Is it jarring to hear your landscape be sort of described back to you, maybe in short form, certainly not anything that words can do full justice to? What is the state of the emotional landscape now? So we've oriented and set up the foundation here with just knowing that we're breathing, we're sitting here with our posture as neutral, as relaxed and upright as is available to us. Our emotional landscape will do what it does. It is present. It might not shift quite the way we want it to in this minute or this hour, but sometimes shifts in the landscape there do occur and are noticeable. Sometimes it's more gentle, like the sand dunes on a beach. They have a pattern when you arrive, and maybe you come back the next day or an hour later or 2 hours later, and you notice how things have shifted. But in the moment, it almost appears fixed. And then I likened this ongoing metaphor to continue mindfulness of thought as that fourth foundation of mindfulness. That is our kind of focus today, our kind of where we'll dive in. That maybe in this context of the emotional landscape that we have now, that there are weather patterns and more shifting phenomenon that I might refer to as thought instead of emotion. These are products of the mind. Maybe they're images that come up. Maybe they're actual words. Maybe there's sort of a story that loops and brings you back to square one. In my healing journey as a physician, even most recently, part of our process is to review the cases that we have that might be difficult, or maybe things could have been better. And I was just on my way over here thinking, how shall I structure this mindfulness of thought? What shall I share that brings us all together into a sense that we're not alone with these thoughts, that they're common, and that they may come in different flavors. The story came to me, I was starting to review a case in my head where my colleagues had indicated to me that, hey, Ash, this we needed to review this case, and we thought that you could have maybe ordered blood in a more timely manner, used uncross-matched emergency blood rather than the usual route to get blood bank blood. And while I won't go into all of the details of the case, that the key piece of that is there's now a setup for a potential internal-external conflict, right? That we have thoughts about this, we're defensive thoughts, hey, I did this should have been okay. I had shameful thoughts, oh my God, guilty thoughts, what did I do? Should I have done it better? What could I have possibly done? I had many skillful thoughts, both in the car ride over and in the scene at the time, to orchestrate care for that baby. And I had thoughts that should have come to me, or maybe could have come to me, or that my colleagues at least thought would have come to them if they were in the same scenario. So there can be these skillful thoughts that help us do our job, take care of ourselves, meet the moment as it needs to be. There are thoughts that we might get actually caught in somehow, that feels like there's no end to the circularity of the reasoning back and forth, around and around. So much so that our awareness gets shrunk into that world, that the thought pattern in our emotional landscape is now concretized for us. The awareness shrinks, the attention stays in that small vicinity, and we lose perspective. And of course, like with each of these four axes and with the Four Noble Truths, there's a sense that one antidote to this is simply recognizing that there is some form of suffering, whether it's through the breath body, it's in the emotional space, or in our thought stream, and recognizing that as something that we are clinging to or averse from. And then we choose through the intentionality, through our attention, through awareness, we choose to let go. This is easier said than done, the mindfulness of thought, as we can get very thinky with becoming mindful of our thoughts. And so I'll leave it at that with just a overview of the movement of these four foundations and this desire to heal ourselves, to heal others. And in particular, this light guide now, I'll sort of drop out my commentary and just drop us into our own experience now for a guided meditation on mindfulness of thought. Just reminding you that one definition of mindfulness is bringing attention to what you want when you want. We've arrived in this posture. We're breathing. If the breath is available to you as the primary place to rest attention, then that can be your intention. But as you notice thoughts taking you away, there's two choices available to you. One, to return to the breath and the embodied feeling that it's giving. Or we can notice the thought directly. Notice what stream is coming. Notice without getting involved, if we can. And if not, maybe to just simply wake up, that we're caught, and return. Snapping the pattern of thought as it catches us can be somewhat useful sometimes. So with these simple instructions, we continue to practice. Mindful of breath, mindful of body, mindful of emotion, and layering in as mindfulness of thought. All the while somehow uncaught or releasing ourselves each time we find ourselves gripping. And sometimes thoughts can be shared. So the thought of where was I might be a useful one to return to the breath and the body. Where am I? Where is my attention? How can I broaden awareness? Questions can result in thoughts, or they can simply be a framework to orient ourselves to the answer directly. Return to the breath. Allow the body to receive it. Let the emotions not be harmful in any way. Let what thoughts need to be here be skillful, kind, healing. find ourselves lost in thought, we congratulate ourselves and return. It's a moment of mindfulness to celebrate. Lost in thought. Here I am again. Breathing, body gentle. Emotions supportive. Thought stream dissipating. Again, lost in thought, congratulating ourselves for discovering this, resetting to our intention, to return to the breath, to release the body, to restore ourselves to health. These intentions, they can be thoughtful or they can be simply an orientation. Wielding thought for our benefit skillfully, rather than carried away by the thought train. Unencumbered by thought. If they're there, they carry no weight. If they're not there, we're free. And as we come to the end of this seated meditation, make the transition to some movement, just a nice way to drop into our state check, breathing check, body check, emotions check, thoughts, yep, there they are. We're okay. We're human. We've got all four. So with that, gently opening the eyes, maybe starting to mobilize the body from fixed, allowing a sense of refreshment to remain.